Hi there, welcome back to Justine's Paper Crafting Tutorials with Justine the Twilight Stamper. Today I'm going to be featuring the Paris set from So Suzy Stamps. I have a link below that you can go to the So Suzy Stamps Anything Goes challenge, and I hope you'll join us for this month's challenge during December. Remember, if anything goes, and all you have to do is use one Suzy stamp and you'll be up for a $15 gift card for So Suzy. Okay, I'm taking a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor paper. This is already pre-cut for you and everything. There's a textured side and a smooth side. I'm going to be using the smooth side today. And I'm going to grab my cafe set stamp set from So Suzy. And I'm going to grab this wine and glass stamp set from So Suzy. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to have the wine bottle and glass sitting on the actual table, so I have to do a little bit of masking. So I inked it up, it could be any color ink, and I just stamped it on a piece of computer paper. I'm going to just take my scissors quickly and cut this out. Okay, now that I'm finished cutting that out, I am going to put this cafe set on my stamp press, and then I'm going to put my little cutout of the wine and glass on the table where I want it to sit afterwards. You could attach this using some removable adhesive or something like that if it doesn't stay down for you. I found just laying it on there and stamping didn't do any harm. It worked actually quite well. So I stamped this using Simon Says Stamp black ink, and I made sure I had nice even coverage. I find these stamps stamp really, really clearly, and that's really great. And so I'm going to stamp this, and you can notice that where I put the bottle and the glass, it now lacks the black lines. So now I can stamp the wine bottle and the wine and glass stamps onto the table. Okay, so I just attached my wine and glass stamp set onto my stamp press, and I'm inking it up using the black Simon Says Stamp ink once again. And I'm going to be putting that right in the middle of the table, so that black line where it's missing from the cafe set is exactly going to go around the bottle and glass. Now this should work out really well for you. If you wanted to use a Stamp-A-Majig to get it perfectly, you could do that as well. But I found doing it, kind of eyeballing it, worked out really well for me. I'm going to ink up this Eiffel Tower stamp using Smoky Slate from Stampin' Up. I wanted a really, really light gray stamp, and I'm going to second generation stamp that. So I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. So I inked it up really well. As you can see, I've done this before. I'm going to stamp it down onto a piece of computer paper or scrap paper. And then I'm going to take a piece of ripped computer paper that I just ripped myself, and I'm going to stick that down onto it and stamp the Eiffel Tower enough so that you know it's the Eiffel Tower. That's what I found important. So it makes it kind of off into the background. We're going to create this sort of optical illusion that this is a 3D card. And so how I'm going to make that look not so ridiculous is I'm going to do a little bit of watercolor on there. And so I'm just going to wash my stamp press first to make sure that I have no ink on there or no ink that's going to come off. And I'm just going to clean off my other stamps really quickly while I'm at it. I'm using a stamp scrub from Close to My Heart. It's one of my favorite scrubs. Works really awesome for pigment inks as well because it's got bristles and it gets really in there. I'm going to take two distress markers. I'm going to take Frayed Burlap and Forest Moss, I believe I use. And I'm just going to color onto my stamp press. You can use a stamp block for this or any sort of plastic, I guess, would work. And I'm going to take my water pen here, my water brush, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to color the wine glass. Now I ended up just doing kind of the sides of it because I thought it gave it more of a reflection and gave it a better look. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to take Barn Door and I'm going to scribble a little bit on my stamp press again, add some water, and watercolor the wine glass as a red wine. You could use Copics for this as well, but I wanted more of a subtle Parisian artistic look for this stamp set, and I think it worked out really, really well. And this is how you can watercolor with distress markers instead of having to go out and buy yourself a watercolor paint set, which I think is always really handy. Next, I'm taking weathered wood, and I use quite a bit of this. I'm going to use this to create the scene. Now, I had said before that Eiffel Tower looks kind of ridiculous there. So what I did was I took a piece and I wiped it off on my scrap piece of paper so it wouldn't be too dark. And I'm creating sort of a background line. And this is to be sort of like off in the background. And I'm going to go through with a lot of water on this and make it really fade out so that it makes it look 3D and like an optical illusion. It kind of makes it look like the Eiffel Tower is kind of over the hill, like you're sitting on a hillside cafe, maybe in Montmartre or something. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take spun sugar and worn lipstick, and I'm going to put those also on my stamp press for some watercolor. I'm going to put quite a bit down for this one because I'm going to be using a lot of it. I'm going to be coloring the chairs and table with this, and it makes it kind of a girlier card. I would say if you're making this for maybe a date night invitation or something like that, I would use maybe some more manly colors. And I'm going to take the darkest color and I'm going to do some shadowing on the edges of the chair, so that's going to be really dark, and onto the bottoms of the stools. And then I'm going to go in with the lighter color and blend that out. So if it's not blending for you, you could just add more and more water. A lot of times when you watercolor, you're supposed to saturate the paper first, but I wanted to make sure, I didn't want a true watercolor look where it sprays everywhere and it's out of the lines. I wanted just some basic coloring with the watercolor idea. Alright, I'm just going to speed up the video here a little bit while I explain what I'm doing. So again, I'm just blending out that dark line there so it's not so vibrant. And same with on this chair. And then I'm going to move on to the table. I kind of just go in little circular motions for this one. Again, you just experiment with it. This is one of really my first watercolors. So yeah, I think it turned out really pretty and really well. You can go outside the lines as well, it's not a big deal. Watercolors do that often. And I'm just going to add some water to that Eiffel Tower, as you can see, just to kind of make it fade out a little bit and look misty. Now I ended up adding this part at the end of the video, at the end of making my card, so you'll see in the next video it won't show the shadow. But I decided that there needed to be a shadow under the chairs and the table to make it look a little more realistic and not so floaty looking, as you can see. So I decided to show you that now so that when you make your actual card, you could get this done right away. So I just added some weathered wood and I just kind of created a shadow under the chairs. And I made the sunlight kind of come from the top left of corner, which is why it's off to the one side. And then just under the table a little bit. I think it made it a world of wonder, and I just kind of used some water and sprayed it underneath the table as well so that it was really dark under the chairs but not so much under the table. I thought it added a little bit of dimension to it. Might not look how it would look in real life, but hey, I like the way that it turned out. So I'm going to add a little bit under the table here and be finished with that shadowing. So as I mentioned before, I added that at the end of the video, which is why that shadowing is not on here now and the card isn't finished right now. I'm going to add this sentiment stamp set, and I'm going to ink that up using the black So Suzy Stamp ink. I had debated about doing something vibrant like a red color, but I decided that this was the most subtle and the best way for it. So I added the Je t'aime stamp set, I love you in French, and this is the small Je t'aime set from So Suzy Stamps as a sentiment, and I really love the way how subtle it turned out and how cute, and it's really French cafe looking, and anyway, it kind of brings out the stamps, I think, to the best of the French sort of theme. I'm just going to cut this down so that it measures 4 by 5 1/4 so that I can add a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 background to it, or card base. I tend to not do watercolor directly on my card base because it generally saturates the paper and might cause it to warp a little bit. Fine with watercolor paper, you don't have so much warping, but that's the reason why I created this sort of white on white look with the card. So I'm just going to finish cutting that. And set my paper cutter off to the side. And this was the card that I had originally made, and I decided to change it. I found that swirly sign a little too overbearing. So I'm just going to see how I like it with the craft cardstock background and see if that's what I wanted to do. But in the end, I decided against it. I decided to use a piece of white and do a white on white card. I thought that was much more elegant looking. Okay, so I grabbed a card base that measures 11 by 4 1/4, and I scored it at 5 1/2 so that I make my card base. Just folding it down with my boning folder to get a nice crisp fold. And then I'm going to add some 3D tape to the background here and prop that up. I love white on white when it's popped up on 3D. It looks fantastic. Okay, so I'm finished taking all of them off here, and I'm going to stick this onto my card base to give it a 3D look. Again, remember I added that shadow afterwards, so that's why that shadow's not there. But I'll add a final photo of the results at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please thumbs up and subscribe before you leave. And go to check out So Suzy Stamps. I'm featured there on her blog today, so thank you so much. All the links are in the description. Okay, now it's time for the giveaway. I'm here to give away this Eiffel Tower stamp from So Suzy Stamps. All you have to do is leave a comment and tell me what your favorite So Suzy stamp is.